Okay, so when I seen Jeff using his pull string, trying to get his rifle to fire in one test, working by himself, I thought, Jesus, I gotta help this guy. He needs something. So I thought of a cable mechanism to pull a trigger using bicycle parts, and then I thought, well, me being an electrician, I ought to use a solenoid. So I kept an old battery drill that was, the gearbox was shot and everything else was good. So I ended up using the housing and using a DeWalt battery to actuate a solenoid, which he can mount on his sled, and then bend a piece of wire, or even rope, but bend a piece of wire to activate the trigger on his rifle. So real quick, I'll show you some of the pieces here. I did not have a whole lot of time to get this done, and I was working a bunch of overtime, but I had an idea in my head and I wanted to get it out and get it to Jeff as quick as possible. But this is just a DeWalt 20-volt drill, and I had ruined the gearbox by mixing mud, and it was just way too much for it. Ended up stripping out the gearbox. But anyhow, a couple little carbon fiber pieces used for models. Pretty neat. I just like carbon fiber. But anyhow, I'm just blocking off the holes. Don't judge it too harshly because this was all done in a super hurry. But one of the things, I wanted to have a safety. So I put this switch in. That way, when you turn the switch on, now it's got power. And we have a push button right here to actuate the solenoid. Whenever after your shot's finished, you can flip down the lock, the safety switch, and it shuts the switch off. That way there's no accidental activation of the solenoid. The solenoid itself is pretty simple, off of Amazon. Got a hole through it, so I figure he can actually, I was going to build a bracket, but I think it's better off if he just zip ties this to his sled, the one vertical part on there, right beside the grip on the shotgun. So if he could just crisscross some zip tie this to the side, and some TIG welding wire, which is heavy, even a coat hanger. He could take it through here up to the trigger and actuate his trigger that way. I'm just trying to keep it simple. I think it's better off if it's simple. He could take it off and on. I really wanted to use the stock trigger. That was my whole idea, was to use the trigger for the drill in here. But once I got it apart, I found that everything is epoxied in the circuit board. It's probably a real low current trigger, and it's all electronic. So that kind of, I looked at a million different ways of still reusing this button, and I thought, it's just, I don't have the time for it, and I don't even know if I could get it halfway decent. But I was able to cut a piece of aluminum cable tray for electrical. Cable tray looks like a ladder, run cables in it, just a wireway. But anyhow, that worked out pretty good there. And this is just a cheap push button from Tractor Supply, but I wanted to get one that had a decent amount of resistance, so it wasn't a real easy push button that you could accidentally set it off. These connectors, these are like you would use on battery chargers. I put them on all my trickle chargers. That way I could like plug them into the bike, whatever. Bikes or cars. But the wire is 12 gauge speaker wire from Amazon. The connectors, these are used they're sold as from Audio Pipe as a speaker connector for car audio. So I don't know, you got about 25 feet, maybe 30 feet of wire here. I just pulled a decent length off and figured that ought to be good. But I'm going to send you this in a case. Maybe I'll put a picture of the case on the video. They're like $22 for this nice Pelican knockoff cases at Harbor Freight. So Tractor Supply for the button, the switches, Amazon, and there is a 2.5 ohm resistor in here, 50 watt. Setting up meters, checking the current and the voltage, and using it a lot. The resistor didn't even get warm. It's one of those nice aluminum zinc resistors. But I'll send this to you, and a the battery and a battery charger in the case, and you should be good to go. Hopefully this makes it a heck of a lot easier. And I just thought it was neat using the drill body, but should work good. Let me see if I can hook this thing up real quick. Okay, so I'm gonna send you this. This is a piece of brazing rod. I don't have any more TIG welding rod, but it's a piece of 3/16 fuel line over there to protect your gun. You can bend any shape you want. I'll give you some extra. But this is a long piece. It's like a 3 or 4 foot piece, but 3 foot piece. I set this up with a Mossberg 500 just to see how it's going to work. Now this is a cheap Plano box, just with these. You put those on and you can rest your gun on. But your sled will be a lot nicer. But I just bent up a short piece, just playing around with this, and this moves a lot right here. I got it on here Velcro, crisscrossed. I think on yours with the steel vertical bracket right here, you could mount this a lot more solid with tie wraps. And I'm sending you some zip ties. I'm sending you some of those, but I'm gonna try this thing. Okay, it's cocked right now, empty. And let's see. So it's got plenty of power to pull the trigger in. You can bend the rod any way you want. If you want to put an offset over and up, that would work too, but I just threw this on here because I was anxious to give it a shot, see if it's going to work. Let's try again. Of course, this will be set back a little bit. I would leave a little slack in here. That way the piston can go in a little further, and then you have more strength. The further in it is, the more strength you're going to have out of it. But see how it didn't do anything because it moved. But when this is mounted solid, come on, baby. So I think it's going to work okay. Once you get it mounted onto your sled, you should be good, man. And I'll be sending you some long heavy-duty tie wraps. Then, like I said, the rod and a little bit of fuel line, so you could wrap around there so it doesn't mess up your trigger or anything. But I think it's actually going to work all right. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to try it before I sent it out. But this should be everything. I can't wait to see how it works. Can't wait. All right, thanks. Okay, Jeff, here's what I'm sending you, buddy. Harbor Freight actually had a deal on these for like 22 bucks. You can't beat it, especially for small projects and stuff where you don't want to spend the money on a Pelican case. Anyhow, here's your cord, your extension cord. Here's some heavy-duty tie wraps, some zip ties. Here's a small piece of fuel line, and here's a little piece of brazing rod. I got brazing rod. I didn't have a steel TIG wire, but that's what I got. And as you'll see, I will put coming up, I tried it out. I couldn't take it. I was going to send it to you without messing with it, but I had to try it out to see if it worked. Anyhow, you can bend this any way you want. And this is a piece of 3/16 fuel line. I stuck it over there, figured that'll help protect your trigger. Probably this, you could probably bend that a lot tighter that it holds on the trigger better, but just was starting out. But there's a long piece here, so you can cut it to straighten it out and cut it whatever length you want. Charger, battery, solenoid. There's some rolls of Velcro, so you can like cross it through the back of the solenoid through here and tie it to the vertical part on your sled. And a big thing, like I said before, is try and get it set up so the piston is inside a little bit. That way it has more power. Further in this plunger is, the more power it's going to have. When it's out here, this is its weakest point. If you get it in a little bit, then you'll have plenty. But that's going to be just you experimenting on how much slack to leave in it with your rod there, whatever works best for you. but in the next part of the video, you'll see where I tried it out. As long as this is mounted solidly to that vertical, whether it's the cable ties, those cable ties will have no problem holding it, or the Velcro pulled real tight. When I tried it, it was pretty loose. It's a flimsy plastic gun rest, so yours will be a lot better. You'll be able to anchor it solid. Another thing I probably should say is make sure this is on the sled and not on the gun, because you'll be saying 4-letter words, getting visits from 3-letter agencies if you end up putting this on the gun. So, but most all of us who watch, we understand that, but I'm just going to say it anyhow for anybody else who might be watching this video. Does not go on a gun. This just goes on the sled, and well, that's about it. You even get a little bit of custom graphics, blood graphics on there from some stain from a chicken coop. Anyways, I would have liked to do a finer detailed job, but it'll be very helpful for you, and I just haven't had the time. I've been working constantly, which is a good thing. But anyhow, this should get you in business, and you won't have to yank on a cord. Should help you out. I'm anxious to see how it goes. Tell Officer Greg I said hi. I really like OG's Danger Show, and it's very entertaining. I appreciate you guys keeping the channel clean, because I can sit there and watch with my kids and not worry about what they're going to hear. And your jokes are high enough out of their level that they just don't get it. So that's good. All right, man. Hey, thanks. I really appreciate watching you guys. I have a lot of fun. So hopefully this helps you out and be my little contribution to the channel, other than just liking and subscribing. Okay. Thanks, guys.